You're watching Real Simple News on Wednesday, May 6th of 2020. And today's top news story, because this has been there's been a lot of conspiracy theories going around. Dr. Anthony Fauci again dismisses Wuhan lab as likely source of SARS-CoV-2 virus. And I know a little here. Let's. Sorry, I'm still trying to figure this out. This is new, but I got a remote. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, again dismissed the idea that a lab in Wuhan, China, was the original source of the coronavirus, as interviewed with National Geographic published Monday. Fauci cited scientific evidence that shows the virus was not man-made. Fauci, who is the White House coronavirus task force, who is on the White House coronavirus task force, told the White House magazine that COVID-19 likely originated in an animal and then was transmitted to humans. He's made similar comments last month during the White House briefing. Quote, if you look at the evolution of the virus in bats and what's out there, the scientific evidence is very, very strong, leaning towards that this could not have been artificially or deliberately manufactured. Everything about the stepwise evolution over time strongly indicates that this virus evolved in nature, then jumped species, said Fauci, the director of the U.S. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. And so the evidence behind this is that there's two other coronaviruses that also were even more deadly than this coronavirus. There's the SARS virus and the MERS virus, which is the Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome virus. Both of them were so deadly that everybody died so quickly it was unable to spread. So a virus can only get so deadly. So this is why we shouldn't be flipping out, because the more problematic viruses are these ones that aren't as deadly, because they can circulate around more. So you got to look at the statistical probability of it. So you've got three of these variants of this virus. The first one, chance that it was man-made is almost zero. All right, the chance that the MERS virus it was man-made, that again is almost zero. And then we have the chance that SARS-CoV-2 is also too man-made. We must logically imply, because there is, almost zero chance of one, almost zero chance of two, and almost zero chance of a black swan on the third one. Black swan means like an incredibly rare event. Like swans are usually white, but every once in a while you're going to get a swan that's black. And so in machine learning, which is something that I dabble in, I'm not like an expert or anything, we use this a lot, because like these probabilities in machine learning come up a lot. So you never set the probability down to zero. You always set it up one level above zero. Or my own personal opinion, seems to me like a lot of people have what do they call that? DNA recombination. They figure out the DNA sequence. I don't know what that's called off the top of my head. I'm just having a brain fart, but that is it's highly likely that it was not man-made, because the markers of the gene editing stuff are not there. Now they were actually trying to genetically mutate the virus with HIV. So there's evidence that there's good reason for people to believe that this actually happened. But the problem is that this is a statistical thing. Like, what's the chance that they actually have some really sophisticated gene editing thing that they're not telling us about, right? There's a good high probability chance that China just basically thought it was going to damage their brand, and that they basically did everything wrong because they're authoritarians, and In an authoritarian country, everybody's pointing fingers because you can get your head chopped off or shot, assassinated. If you mess up, they're brutal. They're savage thugs. And so nobody wants to be the person at fault for this. Like, in general, Chinese people are wonderful. They're our allies. They're geniuses. They're hardworking. But then you've got the Chinese Communist Party, and that's not the same as the Chinese people, right? The Chinese Communist Party is downright evil. They've killed hundreds of millions of people. There's no question that the CCP is evil. But the people in Wuhan, okay, I don't want to get sidetracked here. They were trying to edit it with the HIV, stuff from the HIV virus, but not the stuff from the HIV virus that like makes the HIV virus what it is, because that is a DNA virus, right? So it's like putting fish genes in a plant, right? It's not the same thing. I do know enough about this. I am an engineer who has studied genes quite a bit for AI purposes, but I'm not an expert. But I do know enough to be able to say for my own self, I've almost ruled it out that they are a possibility, just because that those markers of gene editing, as far as we know, nobody's come out with a different way, a way that we cannot tell whether or not it's been gene edited. So we're just going to have to take them on their word. Why did they do it? Because they're authoritarians, and they were pointing fingers. So they didn't want to damage China's brand. This is why I think that they're innocent, is because they had a financial interest in protecting themselves from and their brand. But there's also other sides of this argument, because China intentionally withheld the information and put out false information in order to cause as much damage as possible. And this, I'm really hoping that we can sue them for, because what in our country that would be illegal. If that was an entity, like a corporate entity that did that in our country, they would then be able to be sued in our courts. So China as a government, we could sue anybody we want in our courts. Like we could sue John Doe. You could sue a French person that doesn't exist. It's just the way that our court system works. You put a name on it. You could sue you could sue a chair. Okay? You can, in a desk, in an office. But the Chinese basically, they have all these they have so many people that it's hard to take care of themselves. And then they got the older people are just like nuts, trying to control everybody, spying on people in their camp. Like, that's creepy, dude. The only people that I know sitting around spying on people on webcams are like creepy as fuck people, dude. Those are or they're like heroin dealers, or they like got some they're like schizophrenic people. Like, it's not normal people that sit around on their cameras watching people. But in China, they got these old kooky communist people that like used to just slaughter hundreds of millions of people, and they're obsessed with control, because they know that they would lose it immediately if they did not just kill people like savage thugs. But anyways, hey, let's move on to some more of those other stories.
All right. Oops. Sorry. This next story is from Newsweek, and title is Pelosi believes Biden's denial of Tara Reade's sexual assault scandal allegations, says she's proud to support his campaign. Democratic. Hold on. Sorry, that last sentence wasn't the same. Tripped me up. Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she believes the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee and former Vice President Joe Biden's denial of sexual assault allegations levied against him by Tara Reade, a former aide who worked for Biden when he served as Delaware's senator during the 1990s. Pelosi added that she believes investigators should still look into Biden's records from during his time as a senator to see if there's any mention of sexual assault accusations. However, bureaucratic and logistical hurdles have made accessing Biden's records somewhat unlikely, at least in the near future. During her Tuesday evening appearance on MSC's NBC news program, The Beat, with host Ari Melber asked Pelosi whether she considered the accusations a closed issue following Biden's denial of Reid's accusations on MSNBC's Morning Show last Friday. Quote, "I'm saying unequivocally, it never happened," end quote, Biden said on Friday. Quote, "And it didn't. It never happened. I asked the Secretary of State today to identify whether any such document exists, and if it does, to make it public," end quote. Pelosi responded to Melber's question by saying, "Well, it is a closed issue for me. I have said I'm proud to support Joe Biden for president. I believe that him when he says it didn't happen, but I also believe him when he says let's look at the records, and that's what they should do." I'm not gonna tell you which way to think, because historically we don't really have such really good records of these things being legit, because there are just so many different there's so many different ways. Damn, we don't have the Twitter feed. Oh well, doesn't matter. Sorry, I'm having problems with Restream.io. It's not streaming correctly, but doesn't matter. So this is kind of hypocrisy, because everybody on the left was trying to make it so the president couldn't do what he constitutionally is able to do. Now, I personally I used to be a liberal before I joined the walkaway movement. And at that point in time, I was actually a liberal, and I was rooting for Judge Kavanaugh to not get nominated. I do think the Republicans were highly unethical in blocking the nomination from the prior president. I personally am glad that we have a more conservative court, because now that I have woken up, I do understand how everybody's been brainwashed by MSNBC. It's all this outrage stuff, dude. You gotta look at these news organizations for what they are. They're an advertising cash machine, right? That's what they're there for. They're there to make money for the shareholders in the corporations and to pay the wages of the people who work there. And it's not there to be credible news. So we could pull out all kinds of examples of how these people just take one thing and just warp it and manipulate it like a game of telephone. That's really what's going on. It's just like a game of telephone. Like whenever Donald Trump asked the question last week or something, couldn't tell you the exact date, whether or not you can disinfect your insides with UV light. Right? And then the media goes nuts about it, right? And so as it turns out, Donald Trump never actually said you should inject Lysol or UV light. This is just like some people are saying around on the internet, because it started out as Donald Trump saying, "Hey, can you like disinfect your insides with that UV light?" And like, he didn't actually say anything about Lysol. Excuse me. I had COVID last month, and I'm still sick. I'm still like hacking up like a month later. But it twisted. It's like, first, okay, hold on. I got two things going on. Let me get one of these threads off. It turns out that you can actually disinfect your insides with UV light. There's actually a treatment for patients on ventilators that they basically put UV light inside of the ventilator tube, right? Anybody who's, you know that sunlight kills bacteria and viruses, right? This is common knowledge. Like, we've known this for a long time. This isn't like anything new. And so they're putting UV light inside of the tube to do what? To disinfect your insides, dude. So this just points out exactly what's wrong with CNN. Is it goes from one thing and it just morphs into another, like a game of telephone. It's like, first he's saying, can you disinfect your insides? Turns out to be true. And then the media then seizes upon it. And CNN actually says that, Trump actually says that. Like, I've read a bunch of articles, like in print from CNN, that actually physically say that Donald Trump actually said that. And it just turns out to be actual load of nonsense. So with all of this stuff in the media, you can't really trust much of anything that's partisan. I think that you can generally trust scientific information, but a lot of people have motivations to try to take down politicians. That's why you shouldn't just believe anybody trying to. Now, in general, if a woman says somebody raped me, she's probably telling the truth. In general, people don't lie about that. But with politicians, people will lie. People have a reason to lie. And you got to look at, in rape cases, what about those 5% of women, those shameful, deplorable women who actually do make false rape accusations? That's 1 in 20. That's actually a lot. If you're at a party, you take 1 in 20 people, that's a lot of people. You get a very large group of people. But with a politician, you can never really trust what somebody says about anybody, because people just have there's too many biases that people have, and it's just not a trustworthy source. What's this next article? It's from the New York Post. It says model predicts 350,000 coronavirus deaths if all states end lockdowns, and nearly 350,000 Americans would die by the end of June if all states lifted their coronavirus lockdowns Tuesday, according to the new analysis. Okay, I'm calling bullshit on it. This whole idea of trying to slow the spread to save people's lives is bullshit nonsense. People are going to die from this regardless. SARS, here, I have actually an article that was not, I did not find it in the RSS news, but I've been trying to, I wanted to sneak it in, and I think I can sneak it in. It says, it's from CNBC. It says the coronavirus has mutated. It appears to be more contagious now. New study finds. And the problem with these viruses is that, yes, they do actually indeed mutate. And if this kind of virus is taking out certain groups of people who they were weak to it, like it's happened to the American Indians. I'm sorry, they were Native Americans, but I'm sorry, I'm pushing back on that, dude. They're American Indians, dude. They're Indians. They are not Native. I am a Native American. Now, I find it very offensive that anyone would say that I'm not native to America. I'm sorry, I got a big middle finger up to you, buddy. I'm a native of the state of Oregon in the Willamette Valley here. I'm sorry, that's a joke. It's the Willamette Valley in Oregon. I'm sorry. I'm joking. It's Oregon. I'm sorry. You just like, it's so hard to pronounce these. Like, if you actually just start saying the other mispronunciation, eventually you'll like stop being able to pronounce your own state. It's Oregon, like in your body, and it's Willamette. Okay. So that's BS. I'm even in a tribe. I'm in the Willamette tribe. That's like a Native American name, right? So F off with anybody who says I'm an invasive species or not native. I'm sorry, that was a sidetrack. So it's mutating. It's going to take out anybody. If you're vulnerable, you think you're vulnerable, I'm sorry, you have to hide for the rest of your life. I don't know what to tell you. You're going to die from coronavirus if you don't hide. The rest of us are not. Right? Am I right? The rest of us are not. I've already had it. I don't care. Right? I've had the flu really bad too. That's why I don't care about getting the flu. Right? I'm not worried about it. The flu also too could kill me. I'm not worried about our health system getting swamped, dude. The entire point of this lockdown was we're freaking out about not having ventilators. This ventilator thing was a fucking shit show. All right. So I am an engineer. I was making open source ventilators, right? Because they're like, we need ventilators, you know? So I'm like, yeah, I'm jumping on it, right? And I worked for a month hacking on code and building stuff because it takes that long to put together a product. And after a month, I looked into the ventilators and like what percentage of people are dying from these ventilators. And it's like, damn, like upwards to 90%. Sometimes it's only 60%. And then after then, you then have like lung injuries and like you're like crippled. Like it's horrible. Like this ventilator thing is just nightmarish because what they were supposed to do was not stick them on intubate them, which means you stick a tube down their throat. They were supposed to just flip them on their stomach and give them a mask with oxygen in it that can breathe. Like it's still a ventilator, okay? But it's not the kind of ventilator that they were using, right? Or they needed like a CPAP machine. Right? I built a CPAP machine that was like, I don't think my design was really after I learned more about what you have to do at the hospital. I don't think my design was that good. So I kind of just gave up on it. But it was fun. I did actually have a lot of fun. But it was infuriating because I spent that much time and I thought people like were like I was going to save people's lives with this thing. And then you find out that these people are actually killing people with the ventilators, dude. Like here, I can find something here. Let's at least the live stream's working on YouTube. I'm having a really hard time with Periscope. You know, Restream wants you to pay for their service, but I can't get them to stream to Periscope and YouTube at the same time, but we're working. What was I doing? What was I talking about? I got sidetracked. Well, I'm going to have to move on because, honestly, I forgot what I was actually talking about. I got sidetracked, checking to see if the YouTube thing was on. So what's the next story? Trump says U.S. will report virus origins, gives no timeline. President Donald Trump urged China on Tuesday to be transparent with what it knows about the origins of the coronavirus that emerged from Wuhan, China, as it wreaked havoc on the world. Wait. Sorry. I was supposed to read this article. Oops. Next article from New York Post says, stop destroying the environment or face deadly pandemic, scientists warn. Oh, this one's a little bit old. Sorry. I've been trying to get the green screen figured out. Kind of took the show down. Sorry. It says environmentalists and scientists issue dire warning this week. Stop environmental destruction or in the illegal wildlife trade now or face another pandemic that could wipe out civilization. And this again goes back to what I was talking about in the intro, is that interactions with these animals is how we get these viruses. Pretty much. That's where they come from. I think it's pretty much deplorable, this picture. I apologize. I just want to make people look at this, because I think that this is fucking horrible. Like, anybody who would do that is an animal. That is a beautiful animal. Definitely that rhino's life is worth more than the person's life who shot the rhino, if you ask me. There's certain animals. Now, not every animal, if in my opinion, is higher value than a human life. But an endangered animal that is just such a majestic creature like that, that's endangered, like that, when it's endangered, it puts it above a human life, if you ask me. Next article from New York Post. President Trump says he's glad Kim Jong-un has reappeared. I, for one, am glad to see he's back and well. The president tweeted Saturday, I am going to have to... Okay, I don't support any sort of authoritarian dictators, but when I first heard of this news, because the show was down for, god damn, like almost a month. I was like, I was scared. Not scared, but I was worried that what is going to happen? Like, anytime you've got a dictator getting replaced, it's always got, you got to be looking for problems, because whenever you topple one dictator, you typically get a worse dictator. Stability is actually more important. So if you look at how many people dictators typically kill, I mean, sometimes they go on a mass murdering spree. Sometimes the United States goes on a mass murdering spree, right? But there's times of like a lot of conflict where people are just killing each other, and then there's basically times where like things are like acceptable, but people are still dying. Like, people are still dying from the war on drugs. Like, millions of people have died from the war on drugs, right? So there's a lot of unacceptable behavior. If you look at it, the amount of people that the Chinese Communist Party have killed, they've killed a lot of people, actually. So the amount of people that the American government's killed pales in comparison to some of these other people, but it's still bad. And the amount of people that are regularly killed in these authoritarian regimes isn't really a whole lot, because people just comply, right? There's always somebody they take it out on. But let's look at how many people die in America, though, right? I'm not endorsing authoritarianism. I hate authoritarianism. I am all about freedom. I, as an engineer who's built network protocols, I am all about the DARPA model. That's the model that is behind the internet. And it's rock solid. It's a distributed network. I'm sold on this whole concept that nobody else is going to take care of my property anywhere near as well as I'm going to take care of my property. That people in government don't care about my property because they don't own it. Right? Like, all this government shutdown that happened, why did it happen? It happened because the government shutdown happened because of a bunch of people who didn't own the businesses, they own a house. They have a lot of money in the bank. They don't need to work. They have a job. They're getting paid regardless from the government. They don't give a rat's ass if your business goes down because they don't own it. They don't have to put up with it. That's the fundamental problem with government. And that's why taxation is theft if it's overtaxation. Hold on. Taxation's not theft. I'm going to push that back. Taxation can be theft. And especially when liberals get in control, because it's like the whole thing about people charging stuff up on their credit card, like blowing out their credit. They don't care in the moment because they didn't actually work for the money, and they will buy stuff that they don't need and extras of stuff, and then they'll like waste them, and then they, at the end, whenever they got the money, they're like stressed out about having to pay it off, and then sometimes they don't want to pay it off, sometimes they just don't pay it off, and they just keep the money. And that's kind of what's going on with these liberals. They want to just keep spending money because they don't understand. They've never, if they were engineers and they built systems and they were liberal in their systems, they would see how much extra money all of that stuff cost in the product. Like, I personally own a startup. I build electronics and I do software and stuff. And I deal with these numbers in a spreadsheet of like all these little small numbers, and then they add up. And just small changes, just ever so small changes have like wild fluctuations on the price. That's what people don't understand. If you actually saw those numbers in the computer as they add up in the Excel spreadsheet, whenever you're like, oh, well, I'll just like buy the nice one, right? And then next thing you know, it costs twice as much money. And that's the problem. Ooh, no. Wrong button. Next article here from Newsweek. Ruth Bader Ginsburg will participate in oral arguments a day after gallbladder hospitalization. Ginsburg expects to stay in the hospital for a day or two, the U.S. Supreme Court said. I'm going to have to give credit where credit is due. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is a champ. Look at how old she is. She's still kicking it. She that woman ain't dying, man. She's gonna be around for a while, dude. So she's a tough one, man. I don't really support a lot of stuff. Well, hold on. I think she's done a lot of stuff. I couldn't tell you any specific things that I probably used to endorse everything that she did back when I was a liberal, but no, probably wouldn't. Next article from New York Post says coronavirus spread quickly around the world in late 2019, study shows. New research out of England suggests the novel coronavirus spread quickly around the world late last year. The study by University College London Genetic Institute also identified 198 recurring genetic mutations of the coronavirus, though it's unclear if changes are rendering the virus more dangerous. I already went through another article here. They are actually more dangerous. It's spreading faster. It's bound to happen. It's going to happen. Welcome to the post-COVID world, right? Last one was a flu pandemic, right? And then this one's a new virus that don't have any immunity to it. And so there's going to be all these mutations, and this is the new existence. Me personally, honestly, my life has actually been better since the pandemic hit. I've had more money, but that wasn't the case. It's the same thing with the last depression or recession in the U.S. The last one, I started banking out, I had a bunch of money, and then when it wasn't a recession, then I was broke. It just happens that way with me. I am opposite man. That's why I'm being a YouTuber. I'm pretty good with that shit, that opposite shit. All left field. Let's see. Next one here from the New York Post says Trump wants coronavirus hit companies to work it out with creditors and not use federal aid. I think, yes, you should do that. If you invested money into a business that you are charging interest on because there is a risk involved, you knew that going into it. Everybody's going to have to take a hit, man. Nobody's going to come out of this unfazed except for me, bro. I'm the one that's going to come out on top, dude, but everybody else is not, dude. And that's because I am a black swan. I'm just a wing. I'm just like, I'm a, I almost said wingnut. I'm a wingnut. I thought a bunch of y'all are like, yep. I'm the oddball. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, I definitely think everybody should take a hit because honestly, it's just not that bad taking a hit as a business. It's one of those things where it's like people just, when they get afraid, they completely lose sight of how strong Americans are. They're like, oh, we need all this government help because it took out a portion of my money. 20% of my money's gone, so we need to get $2 trillion in debt. We need to give handouts. You want to know what I spent my money on for that stimulus check? Canon camera. But then I accidentally got one that wasn't 4K. So I had to go buy the 4K one, which was like really expensive. So people must buy a camera. Canon Mark EOS M6. You should check it out on Eugene Craigslist. What am I doing? So yeah, I'm going to have a better camera here, but we're going to put up with these cameras. This current camera, if you're wondering, is a very cheap one. I thought was kind of bunk at first, but it actually looks pretty decent. It's a little bit noisy, but it's an Akaso V50X, and maybe you might. I got this one because the colors look a little bit better, but there's more noise. But this one was like $100. They got $100, but I'd get the $130 one. That Elite, no, the V50 Pro SE, probably would get that one, yeah. But I got a GoPro, so we're gonna have better cameras here pretty soon. But that's what I'm spending my stimulus money on. I'm like, I need, yeah, they need customers. So I guess that's why they gave it to me, is so that I could go buy a camera. Sure. But I'm not really sure whether or not they should just be giving me like really fancy cameras to do my show with, because they did need us to like spend the money, but like I don't know about this whole like government trying to like hold our hands thing, because like in reality I didn't even need the money. Like, they're like just giving money to people who don't need it. Well, it would be nightmarish to try to figure out who actually does need the money. It's probably better to just give every bit of the money and then take it out later. And then maybe call off the debt with China. I think probably it might be time to call off the debt with China, because they tried to inflict damage to our country by not telling us about the coronavirus pandemic and giving us false information. So I think we should sue them and just call the debt off, because I just think that would just be the way to go. Yeah. Next article from Newsweek. Joe Biden to launch a $55 million Latino vote campaign as fight with Donald Trump to win over Hispanic men heats up. Former President Joe Biden's campaign is launching a multi-million-dollar Latino vote campaign after recent polling showed a lagging enthusiasm among the group, including evidence that he needs to invest heavily to attract Latino men to help him secure the presidency, Newsweek has learned. Two sources familiar with the initiative told Newsweek Biden campaigns will spend $55 million on the campaign as part of an effort that includes targeting Hispanic men, a group President Donald Trump and his allies are already focusing on for the November 2020 election. Biden campaign, blah, 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 blah. What am I trying to get at? This little thing. Okay, this is a recent poll from Democratic firm Latino Decisions showed that Biden's support with Latino men was 50%, compared with 34% for Donald Trump. And why is this relevant? Because, everybody, the left has just been going nuts about how it's racist to build a wall. This is stupid. This is absolutely stupid. This whole issue of being against the wall. I used to be really against the wall. I actually was one of the people who started the Portland anti-Trump protest in Portland. So as for how much I hated Donald Trump for the wall, it was livid. I hated that guy. Like, I even tried to submit no, I didn't actually submit. I tried to get a petition submitted, but I never submitted it to get Jeff Sessions to do his constitutional duty with the writ of mandamus, because I was an idiot, right? And I thought that they were racist, that it was a racist thing to do. And now that I've come to my senses, I know that this is absolute batshit crazy nonsense, okay? So, I'm sorry, I don't mean to bring this up so much here. I don't. It's just that, when you're doing a show, you talk, there's statistics, right? But I'm not, I don't mean to, always talk about immigration, I've been tweeting about it on Twitter as like, it's like noise, but let's look here. Immigration. So this is a percent of children born from immigrants, people who are foreigners. And in California, the shithole of America, you can see that 47.1% of children in California are born from immigrants. And of this number, I've seen numbers that say that 90% of them are from Mexico. And that makes sense because I'm not sure if those numbers, I think the numbers pan out because most of the illegal Mexican immigrants are in California. So, but I can't pull out the statistic because it's going to derail the show. But this is a freaky statistic because like almost all of these people are from Mexico, right? And like they're taking over the state. These are when you do the math, there's like how many illegal immigrants? There's like 10.5 million illegal immigrants. 50% of them are from Mexico. And where are my numbers coming from? They're coming from, I'm sorry if I don't mean to talk about immigration all the time, but it comes up. I'm like, I ought to show through the stats, right? Let's look at the stats. This is from Pew Research, right? So here's the numbers coming in. And the 26% of the people coming in are from Mexico. But 50% of the illegal immigrants in America are from Mexico. These are just the numbers coming in. And I think they catch more people. There's a lot of factors that go on in this. But 50% of the illegal immigrants are from Mexico. There's like 550,000 homeless people in the U.S. So when you do the math, Mexico has 150 million people, their population. So when you do the math on that, it turns out that 1 in 20 Mexicans is in the U.S. illegally. Right. I love Latinos. I think Latinas are hot. I would totally hook up. Would not even hesitate. Don't give a rat's ass what my child's skin color is. I only care that I have a child because I'm 38 and I don't have a lot of money and not many women would date me. So any woman that would have my baby, I would totally impregnate her. Wouldn't give a fuck what her skin color is. Right? Would love my child just as much. Wouldn't care. But what I care about is that 47.1% of California is born from immigrants, right? Because that at a certain point is like, whoa. I don't have anything against the Latinos here. Like, unless they're an illegal immigrant and we got to kick them out. My personal stance is no más. Like, too much. I don't know how to say that in Spanish. It's too much, no more, man. Like, there's a certain point where we can't have it anymore. But why am I going through this? Because Latinos who live in America are also too affected by this. You have to look at this of who's actually got having the highest birth rate, and the highest birth rates are from the immigrants, and I think most of them are legal immigrants, but what? It's the second and third generation Americans aren't having the high birth rates. They're having really low birth rates. So the replacement birth rate, and I do apologize for speaking about this. I'm not. Wikipedia says you're a white nationalist if you talk about birth rates. I'm calling bullshit. I'm not afraid to talk about it. I will talk about anything because I do not hate anyone, and it is legit. We can pull out statistics and actually show it. I'm talking about statistics. So a birth rate, a woman has to have 2.1 children in order to be replaced because there's a man and a woman, right? And then some of the kids don't make it. So where our birth rate is like averaged out about like 1.5 in America. And then but the Asians, now Wikipedia says this is racist. And I apologize for talking about it, but it's relevant to this article. And that's probably why, it's an issue that comes back around again. But it's not white supremacist because the issue is happening to all Americans, actually. It's just that most Americans are white. But the second and third generation Asians are hit really hard. Their birth rates are like 1.4. So the immigrants from China are then coming and replacing them. And so that's the thing where they're saying, oh, you're a white nationalist, white supremacist. But it's not, because it happens to Asians and it happens to black people too. Black people's birth rate's 1.6. We're all going downhill, some slower than the other, but we're all going down except for the immigrant communities. That I have a big problem. I love immigrants. Like, I don't mean to offend any immigrant friends because I do have some and I have offended them. And I apologize for that. But this is the problem, is that once you get enough Mexicans controlling California, they're going to not enforce the border, right? They're going to prevent the police from then, or the ICE from deporting people. And what does that do? The people start in California, and then they do what? They move to other states. They don't have a right to do that. States don't have a right to do that. So what does this have to do with this article? Sorry, it's easy to get sidetracked when you're reading these articles, but this is all relevant. So the Latinos, this affects Latinos. So they're saying it's racist. But look, 34% of Latinos are in support of it. And that's because most legal immigrants don't like illegal immigrants. Hold on. They don't like illegal immigration. Immigrants are just people, dude. Yeah. But if our birth rate's so low, I just need a baby. I don't care if she's Latina, but that's the problem, is they're in a different community. So I've got a little bit of problem with the race pandering. I mean, I understand you kind of have to do it, but what's the situation that's evolved here is it's set up so that it's like the socialists, the blacks, and the Latinos versus the white people in the Republic. They're all the Democrats, and then the white people are like the Republicans. Like, what is it? 2/3 of white males are Republican. Like 2/3 of white males are Republican. Right. So that's a pretty high number. I'm in the majority of white males. I'm not in the minority. But the liberals certainly do think that they're in the majority. But as it turns out, they're getting brainwashed from all this race pandering, because what they want to do is they want to use these issues to get you to vote for them. They want to say, no, Donald Trump's the racist person because he wants to build a wall. Like, wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. What about second and third generation Latinos? That's not the same as first generation Latinos. First generation, let's clear that this terminology of Latinos it's not. I mean, it pretty much means Hispanic. No, it doesn't really mean Hispanic, because Hispanic means you're from Spain. That's why they say Latino. That's why the word got switched to Latino, is because, well, first off, Latin America is awesome, but second off, and third off, fourth off, I hate saying that shit. That's how you know you're triggered, right? You say first off, second off, and third off. But let's think about this from the perspective of You are trying to grow your family. Like, you want your own family to grow and to control America because you're a citizen of America, and well, your children should control America. Shouldn't be the children of foreigners controlling America, right? But the second and third generation, they're like, they just want to keep packing these immigrants in. It's like, yo, we got 310 million people here, dude. 310 million people, and they just want to keep packing them in. Like, oh, really? Why do they want to keep packing them in? Oh, so you can decrease the population in their country so that more people can then grow in their country so they can overpopulate, and then we overpopulate, and then because they're living the American dream, that means they're just like pumping CO2 and greenhouse gases out into the atmosphere, right? It's a massive amount of pollution, dude. I do not want America to grow in size. I want us to stay the same. But from the perspective of the second and third generation Latinos, this makes sense for them to also think this, be in line with this, because they want their family. The Latinos from outside of the country are competition. You got to think of it. Latino is a word that means basically people from like Puerto Rico, Mexico, Brazil, anybody from Latin America. But in those countries, they don't say Latino. Latino isn't a word that they use. They say, I'm a Brazilian. I'm a El Salvadorian, right? So Latino basically means people who immigrated to the United States from outside of the country. Now, a Latino American is not the same as a Latino. It's still just an American. So there's a difference between these words. But the left gets really confused. They don't understand that, like, there's a difference in between a immigrant, a Latino, and a first generation Latino American. There's a massive, huge difference. The difference is the Latino, the immigrant who's from outside of the country is supposed to be a guest in our country. They're not supposed to control the place. We're not supposed to bow down to our Latino overlords and, can't say anything to upset our Latino overlords because they mow our lawn, the jobs that our teenagers are supposed to get. You know, and they're like, the white dudes don't do a good of a job. Well, why? Why do the white dudes? Because they didn't get the fucking job mowing the lawns as a teenager because they were hiring Latinos. They were hiring people from outside of the country. And my mom is a big Trump supporter, right? She also, too, did the same thing. I was going to mow her lawn. But then she's like doing some passive-aggressive thing, and she's like, I'm going to call, then she calls up, like, immigrants, illegal immigrants, to come like mow the lawn. It's like, that's why it's like, you got to call bullshit on all this racism shit. It's like, dude, like you say, they get people racist. Like, they ain't fucking racist, dude. Like, I mean, you're like, these people hate Latinos. Like, they're calling up, hiring them to come do lawn maintenance, right? Like, that's. I didn't call ICE on them. First off, you can't really tell, like. Well, just because they're speaking Spanish doesn't mean that there are actually an illegal immigrant. Sorry. You could assume that. So don't be calling ICE on people just because they speak in Spanish and they pretty much think they're immigrants. Because that's jackass, asinine. But what's up with this? Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting derailed here a little bit. I'll try to keep on track here. The second and third generation Latinos don't get any benefit from you continually packing Latinos in, because the way it's going to work is that the majority of people in the North are white people, and so eventually these people will integrate into our community, and then they'll join our family, and then after like 200 years they won't look like Latinos anymore. But our blue eyes will be gone. See, like, I got blue eyes, right? So like, that's something that we're going to lose because we're having these near open border policies where 4 and 5 illegal or border crossers are just getting through. And then the liberals are saying, no, you can't build a wall. You can't build a wall because it doesn't do anything. Like, excuse me. These people have never worked as as a border enforcement official. Like, excuse me, walls are incredibly effective at channeling people into funnels where it's easier to catch them. You don't even have to build a wall across the whole thing. You just have to build walls in the high traffic areas that then funnel them over to other areas where you can then catch them. And you can use drones and other technologies. You can use a variety of things. It can't just be a wall. It has to be a bunch of drones and stuff. But this is not racist at all, because 47.1% of California is born from Mexicans, dude. Or hold on. Let's get that right. And I've also seen the number 85% and then 90%. I went with 90%. So let's do a lower one. Let's say that 47.1% times 0.85. That's still like 40% of the state's born from Mexicans, dude. Like, I like Mexicans. I think they're great. They're funny. They're like lovely people. They do not have conflicts with us. It's not like Muslims taking over Europe where they're going to be in a different community and then they're not compatible. Like, the Muslim religion has to take over and have Sharia law. And so our laws are fundamentally incompatible with their religion. But Latinos aren't like this. But still, it does not help Latinos in America for us to not enforce our immigration policies, because the Latinos in America are trying to grow their family. They don't want competition from outside of the country. This is the fundamental nonsense thing that the liberals have been thinking, is they think that, like, if you don't want to keep packing in 1 million additional immigrants each year, that you're a white supremacist. Like, that's nonsense. There's 310 million people here, dude. We don't want to share our resources with everybody in the world because they would be gone. I'm taking too much time on this article. Next article here from New York Post: coronavirus researcher on verge of breakthrough, killed in murder-suicide. Wow. A University of Pittsburgh researcher on the verge of a breakthrough in understanding coronavirus was found shot dead in his home, according to a report. I didn't read this article before. I just read the hard. Wow. So he was searching the or take your tinfoil hat off. Let's go down here. Bing Liu, 37, was allegedly killed inside of his Pittsburgh area townhouse Saturday by a man who then went outside in his car and shot himself. So it seems like maybe a random thing, not like a CCP assassination. Let's read on. Police believe, and that was WATA, a local ABC affiliated, reported that. Police believe Liu and the suspected gunman, identified as 46-year-old Hao Gu, knew each other, although their connections is not believed to be related to Liu's research. Liu's death appears to be a homicide, but a motive remains unclear. Police told the outlet, so it might have been a wingnut killing him because he's doing research on the CCP virus. This quote: "We haven't had anything at this point that comes to the investigation that has anything to do with Mr. Liu's employment or his research," end quote. Rawlins Township Detective Brian Culsip said. Liu is a researcher at the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. His department said Monday the university described him as an outstanding and prolific researcher who is nearing completion of his important work related to COVID-19. Can you stop saying COVID-19? Just it's COVID. Like, this whole COVID-19 thing was stupid. Like, this is the coronavirus disease from 19. It's the goddamn Wu flu, bro. It's the CCP virus. Here, I need a break for just this minute. I'm not done. Next article from New York Post. Women arrested after calling cops to report fire in crotch. An Ohio woman was placed under arrest after reportedly calling 911 to ask for help extinguishing a fire in her crotch. Katrina Morgan, 50, called cops at Port Clinton about 10 p.m. on Saturday to alleged falsely reported her pussy ablaze. The Port Clinton News Herald reported. Morgan asked the cops of the fire department. Hold on. Morgan asked the cops of the fire department's. This is an error. This is they messed up. Morgan asked the cops of the fire department's hose if I do that stuff too. We found one. Oh, we've got a winner. That's supposed to say if. Morgan asked if the fire department's hose is working and said, I need somebody to come put it out with their hose, according to the outlet. Police arrived at the scene to find Morgan at her friend's home where she and others had been drinking, residents told the officers. Oops. Hey, man. That shit happens when you've been drinking, dude. Next article from New York Post. Dallas salon owner who reopened despite coronavirus restrictions gets 7 days in jail. A Texan salon owner was given 7 days in jail on Tuesday after she refused to apologize for defying coronavirus-related restrictions by remaining open for business. Fuck that judge. No, I'm sorry. Fuck that judge. Apologize? Fuck you. Fuck. That business should be open. That's whack as fuck, dude. If you want to stay at home and cut your own goddamn hair, you are more than welcome to do that. As for everybody else, my son needs a haircut. We already had coronavirus, so fuck off. UK's next article from Newsweek, UK scientist who influenced US lockdown policy quits after breaking social distancing rule with lover. This is why liberals are idiots, because 85% of scientists are liberals. And you could tell this guy has a gender pronoun tag on Twitter. You can just tell that he's a really nice, cool guy. Sorry, I talk shit about these guys, but I do like them. Right? So Professor Neil Ferguson, who influenced the federal government's response to coronavirus, admits he made an error in judgment. When he allowed his lover, a married woman, to visit his house at least 2 times during the pandemic, according to the Telegraph. This is fucking stupid, dude. I'm sorry, man. Was this in Europe? Yeah. Dude, Europeans are idiots, dude. Seriously, man, what the hell is up with how stupid these Europeans are acting? It's because these stupid idiot liberals banned hate speech in Europe. And now anything that is not nice is now dangerous. Like, I would go to jail for hate speech, dude, in Europe, which is whack as fuck. That's absolutely whack as fuck. And this is pervasive. And these people try to push their bullshit rules here in America. I program computers, and I have to deal with a lot of these petty bullshit European people because I'm a C++ programmer, and I got some famous computer algorithms, and so I got to rub noses with these elbows with these people, right? And these people suck, dude. They okay in person, yeah, one-on-one, they're nice, right? Totally would be chill. But they have this mass group mentality where they're jackasses. They suck because they're brainwashed. This is the problem. It's the fundamental problem between the liberals in the cities and the conservatives in the rural areas. The people in the cities think it's the conservatives who are brainwashed or stupid. They just think they're stupid hicks. Why would you not support everything that we do? Because we're city people and we're smarter than you, right? But as it turns out, that's not exactly the case, because when you're around other people, as it turns out, they manipulate your thought processes. And when you're in cities and people are around you all the time, they end up controlling your thought processes. So the people who are in the rural areas are not having their thought processes controlled. So it's actually the opposite of whatever the people in the cities are actually brainwashed. And so it's especially people like this guy. He's going to be pretty heavily brainwashed, dude. Just from being a professor in the colleges, because you can't say anything critical in these colleges because you have all these different people from different races and you can't offend people. So in particular in these colleges, the liberalism has gone nuts, dude. But this is so stupid. This just shows you how stupid these people are. Like, literally, you went and saw your girlfriend and now you're going to quit? Good riddance to this guy, because he's an idiot. Next article, from New York Post, coronavirus-style remote learning could replace old model of education, Cuomo says. Remote learning could replace the practice of a teacher standing in front of a classroom instructing students in the post-coronavirus area. We've got another winner here. So yes, in the post-coronavirus area, bombshell White House. Hold on, sorry, I mispronounced that. Area. Governor Cuomo suggested Tuesday Cuomo dropped the bombshell while announcing the partnership with the Gates Foundation to reimagine education in the post-COVID era, one of the eras he can rely on. Hold on, I'm done with this article. I'm going to tell you my experience here because I have a child. He's 11. So this is relevant. He has a emotional and behavioral disability. It's like ADHD with like a little bit of oppositional defiance syndrome. So that means he doesn't listen. Got it from his grandma, not from me. No, I'm innocent. So he's had problems in school. You know, I had to have him some like ADHD medications, which actually did help. Especially we didn't overdose him, just had underdosed him, and it helped. I think so far there's no negative side effects. But from him doing a little bit of homeschool, I feel like it's helped him out because my son had problems sitting down, and it's because now I don't tolerate shit like my son does because he got this stuff from his grandma, and I'm the strict one, and like I'm not so nice sometimes. So I feel like I've been able to make progress with my son with him learning on his own. Because in the school, he was relying on assistance from other people. This assistance is not here at the home. And I feel like, yeah, you know what? Honestly, I think we definitely need to have less in school. Less stuff in school. I'm sold. I do not believe that we should socially isolate ourselves. I think that is the primary benefit of public school, is that you are able to network with people, meet people. I would hate to be homeschooled 100%, but I definitely would not mind, absolutely would not mind if I'm at the house and he can do his schoolwork from the home by himself. I feel like it helps him out, become more self-reliant. So let's hope that this does good. This is the last article here. I think I'm going to do two because they're kind of the same article. It says from Reuters. It says global coronavirus deaths exceed 250,000. So to put that into perspective, the number of people that die from the flu each year is like between 250,000 and 500,000 each year. Different number varies. So it's been on 6 months. You know, when flus break out, that's about the pattern that they go in. However, this COVID's gone, so you double that, it's like a bad flu season. Like, everybody freaked out over nothing, dude, because we let all these people in control who are looking outside of the country, who are like looking for the WHO for guidance, like outsourcing everything, trying to make some international authority. Turns out to be complete bullshit because there's almost red tape, bureaucracies, and whenever you scale an organization up to be so big, it doesn't really work so well. So we rely too much on the international community, especially from the Europeans. The Europeans really freaked out and did some stupid stuff, and then it forced us to freak out, because this is what really pisses me off about Europeans, man, is that they want to control how you react. You're like, what? You're not doing it the way that we're doing it? Oh, well, you don't care about it. Oh, you're the dangerous one. It's like they're like too goody-goody. They're like absolute little, like, not trustworthy, like goody-goody people are not trustworthy people at all. If you want to talk about getting screwed over, the goody-goodies are the worst of the batch, the most toxic of the batch, because there's always a reason as to why you're not good enough and why they don't care. And a lot of, especially if they're from a big city, there's this thing in big cities called imposter syndrome, where, hold on, women have imposter syndrome. There's a wealthy imposter syndrome is what it is. In these big cities where people just never feel like they make enough money and like you never belong there. And what does this have to do about the article? So a lot of these people putting out this fear in these cities, you got to understand where they're coming at mentally. Like they're in a big city that's really lonely. It's really isolated. Their thoughts are being controlled by all the other people around them, who are using their reactions and being pissed off at people to control their thought processes. And then we're letting those people then like dictate our reactions. And what we need more local people dealing with it, because nobody's going to take care of your property like you're going to take care of your property, dude. Nobody, not a single person in the entire world. That truth is universal everywhere in the entire world. There's not a single, well, there are some exceptions to it, but it's very few and far between, not reliable. But what does this have to do with that? I don't know, man. I think I'm getting sidetracked. What's this next one say? It's from CBS's government document reveals U.S. daily total could nearly double by June. It could be up to 3,000 people per day. So let's do the math. It's going to be peaking for another month, and that's 3,000 times 30. Sorry. It's 90,000. So it sounds horrible. Like, yeah, I mean, it is horrible. But in the end, it's not actually that many people. That's how many people have the U.S. has 5% of the world's population. So if, like, let's say 500,000 people die in a bad flu this season, times 0.05, right? It's 25,000 people would die in just a normal flu season, in a bad flu season. Just a normal bad flu season. So that's 25,000. How many people are going to die? Like maybe 500. That's like 10 times more people. I mean, it's like a flu pandemic, basically. I'm not worried about it. We're going to read one more just because this woman deserves to get a little bit of recognition here. It's last story here from the New York Post. 100-year-old woman dubbed boomerang overcomes coronavirus. That woman's tough as nails, man. Got to give it up to her for overcoming coronavirus, being 100 years old. She survived 2 heart attacks and scarlet fever, dysphoria, whooping cough, among other medical crises. Now has given the heave-ho to the coronavirus. Southwest News Services report. She's delighted to be back home. She's our little boomerang. She never fails to come back with a vengeance. The British Centurion's granddaughter, Tracy Appleyard, 49, told the news outlet. So, with that, thank you for watching Real Simple News with Cale McCullough here on May 6th. Actually, it is my birthday. I am now 38. Was over the hill before, so it's still over the hill. A little bit more over the hill, but my hair is not gray yet. Be nice to have another baby. Who knows? Maybe I'll find some Latina with big tits. Thank you. Thank you for watching the show. And please tune in next time. I will be back doing regular news shows now that I think I got everything figured out. This green screen was a major disaster. It wasn't, yeah, it was pretty much a disaster. But I think I got it figured out with this thing, the remote, to be able to switch stuff so I could do stuff. So I'll have a cooler show, better stuff, more green screen stuff. So stay tuned. Until next time, aloha, sayonara, farewell, peace be with you, and Godspeed in your